Hey guys, Nick here, how you going? Back again to talk about some more X-Wing spoilers because FFG just put out another article pertaining to the Servants of Strife Squadron pack for the Separatist Alliance, part of the Wave 3 content. Just before we move on to all of the spoilers here, let's have a quick chat about the sort of spoiler schedule that FFG are using right now. Because this article came 10 days after the last one. Indeed, this seems to be the pattern that they've used for the last lot of articles, where they'd release an article on the Monday and then the next Friday and then the next Monday after that, sort of on a 10, 11-ish day cycle. Monday, Friday, or Tuesday, Saturday for us here in Australia, which is kind of interesting because they're still advertising Wave 3 as coming out in the first quarter. And this is the second article on the same expansion. And at this rate, we are not going to get this out in March. Unless FFG step up the schedule or release it a little bit later. This doesn't really seem to line up with what they're saying. So hopefully we go back to having weekly articles. But at this rate, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. In any case, let's actually talk about the stuff inside this pack. It's gotten me very, very hyped, and Justin as well, because we're both looking at playing the Separatist Alliance. This article talks about some of the upgrade cards in the pack, so some of the stuff you use more generically in your squad as a whole, rather than stuff to just help out one ship at a time. So let's dive right into it. Just bringing up the spread here because we actually got the information on these new tokens that we didn't know about before. First of all, these obstacles are called gas clouds. And according to this article, they only give you a more defensive capability, but it doesn't seem, unless they've left out this information, that there is any downside from flying over them, which could be very interesting. I think aces could be very interested in this ability because it gives them more defensive capabilities, but also big ships. Being able to place obstacles in lanes that don't give you downside from flying over them is going to help big ships that don't want to lose their action, want to make sure they can keep their arc rotating. Could be quite interesting. I'll be very curious to see what kind of list these fit into. But what they do offer is the ability, when you are defending against a shot that's obstructed by the gas cloud, not only do you get the extra green dice, but you then get to change one of your results to an evade. So it's much better maths in terms of being defensive, which is kind of cool. Now, a lot of people are calling this like the new auto thrusters. I don't think that's all that reasonable because it's a completely symmetrical effect. You and your opponent both get this. Auto thrusters is pure damage denial on one side of the table. Gas clouds are interesting. I think it really depends on the squad you're taking. It doesn't really seem like it fits with the ships in this pack because Vulture droids want to land on rocks. Vulture droids specifically can only land on asteroids' debris clouds. So gas clouds might be FFG's way of giving the rest of us that don't want to deal with those kind of shenanigans a way of placing things on the table that don't become a turret for your opponent. Very interesting. As I mentioned before, this is maybe creating what's called a rock meta. We'll see what happens with this. I mean, the things that want this kind of stuff might just not be that prevalent, so it might not matter. But who knows, maybe Vulture droids could be the next hotness and gas clouds could be very, very important as a way of having a safety valve against them. The other token that was revealed in this article was this little red guy here. This is a strain token, and it retains on the ship like a stress token. It's square, it's red, so it stays on the ship and it is negative, but that's what that coding means. And it reduces your agility by 1, or it at least reduces the amount of green dice rolled by 1, more importantly. And this is very, very interesting because the only way to get rid of these, unless there's a card that specifically says get rid of a strain token, is by doing a blue maneuver, just like you would a stress token. Now, it's not specified in this article whether you can get rid of one of both or you must choose one or the other. I'm going to guess that you can only get rid of one of these tokens as a entire pool when you do a blue maneuver, but it's not spelled out in this article black and white. So it still might be the case if you do a blue maneuver, you can remove a stress and a strain token. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, very interesting. If it is one or the other, we could have some very interesting control builds coming out of strain tokens. It all depends on what cards they get printed on, but I could see that being a reality. In fact, in terms of cards that give strain tokens, we just have the one at this point. Treacherous for the Separatists. And this is a card that's part of the cycle of adjective cards that go one on every faction. We got what, fanatical, heroic, ruthless, fearless, and selfless. That's the other one I was thinking of. Treacherous is for the Separatist Alliance. While you defend, you may choose a ship obstructing the attack and spend 1 charge. This card has only 1 charge. If you do, cancel 1 hit or crit result, and that ship gains 1 strain token. After a ship at range 0 to 3 is destroyed, recover 1 charge. So this is potentially very powerful, especially considering it can cancel critical results. This is something that Vulture Droids is going to be very, very interested in. Also, this can be used on your own ship. So if your opponent shoots ships that are in the back of your formation, the ships that in front are obstructing so that they can gain strain tokens, perhaps you don't care too much about giving your friendly Vulture Droid strain tokens. I mean, they're pretty much cannon fodder as they are anyway. You could fly 3 of the precision hunters behind 3 of the really crappy Initiative 1 guys. That's an idea. But most importantly, out of everything else, this is encouraging you to fly ships in formation and get in close to your opponent's ships, so that there's a very high chance of one of those ships obstructing your other ships. And that's good. I'm seeing a lot of design push with these adjective cards, if I can call them adjective cards. They're sort of informing what the faction wants to be doing, at least in the design that FFG is pushing. And Treacherous is just another card in the Separatist Alliance that really makes them want to fly in formation. I'm going to talk a lot about formation flying in this video, but it seems really, really solid. I don't have to explain to you guys how high the ceiling on this. Cancelling critical results is crippling against an offensive list. If you can prevent a Vulture Droid from taking a direct hit, keeping it on the table for 1 or 2 more turns, that is pretty big game. This card is way more offensive than it looks, despite the fact that it's a defensive ability. It's for the more offensive and aggressive you're playing, the more likely you're going to destroy your opponent's ships and they destroy your ships. Doesn't matter which ship it is, you get the charge back. And that means that you can brawl a bit later into the game, protect your ships a bit better. I really like the design on this card. I think it looks really, really solid. Be curious to see how much this one costs. Heroic and Fanatical on the First Order and Resistance are both very aggressively costed. I'd like to see this and whatever's in the Republic faction have the same treatment, because I think these are very relevant cards to be playing. Alright, I'm just going to skip forward to the end of this article and talk about the thing that I'm least hype about first. This is the Soulless 1 title for the Beloved Starfighter, and I don't know what to make of this. The article advertises this as being very synergistic with General Grievous's pilot card. While you defend, if the attacker is outside your firing arc, you may reroll on defense dice. So this gives you a benefit if somebody's attacking you outside your firing arc. General Grievous gives you an offensive bonus if you're attacking someone while you're outside their firing arc. It sounds synergistic, but I'm not convinced it is, because I don't know, because if your opponent's ships turn to face you, then you get no bonuses at all. Yeah, I'm really perplexed by this. It was interesting. After the last video I did on this, people were talking about General Grievous, responding to what I was saying about him, but I'm undervaluing him because we're not really appreciating for the role he's designed for, which is a flanker. Flanking is a very powerful tactic in X-Wings. Essentially, if your opponent's squad's coming down the table, you can move like an ace up around the side and hit them from the side, and that means they have to peel off and then lose their formation flying, which changing the behavior of your opponent's powerful, or just punishing them for not changing their behavior and just hitting them in the back of their ships. Flanking is a good tactic, and General Grievous is a ship that wants you to flank because he wants to be able to hit ships outside their firing arc, but he's Initiative 4 on a platform that's not very fast. What we've seen so far in the game is this is a powerful tactic on ships that are fast and generally have high initiative. That's not so important, but the dial on the platform is very, very important. Fast ships like TIE Silencers, TIE Defenders, even the Fire Spray with its native boost, Boba Fett, can be a very powerful flanker in the right situations. I'm not convinced that General Grievous is getting there right now, and I'm kind of disappointed because I really like General Grievous as a character, and his pilot card and his ship's title just kind of underwhelm me. In the comment section, guys, what am I missing here? I don't really get it. I might change my tune once I get it on the table. I just don't think either of these are really powerful. I will say, Soulless 1 gives your ship 2 more hull. That I do like. That is very, very relevant. But not specifically for General Grievous. It is good for General Grievous because he wants to brawl, he wants to fight, so giving him a bit more survivability is always relevant. But it's also good on all the guys that support your Vulture Droids or the other pilots on the Beloved. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Let's move on to some cards I am very hyped about that were revealed in this article. And that's this new upgrade type, which has been revealed as Tactical Relay. Now, based on the images we can see in this article, it looks like this is going to be available for the Belbalub, potentially the Sith Infiltrator, probably not the Vulture. You see this image here, the card is on the Belbalub supporting the Vulture droid. And just as an aside, the FFG art team, what did they have against Anakin Skywalker? Because he, in this article, was caught out in the bullseye firing arc of a single Vulture droid Initiative 3. In the previous article, he was caught out in the bullseye firing arcs of 3 Vulture droids. FFG, what are you doing? Anakin Skywalker is an amazing pilot. Come on, this is not going to happen. But anyway, let's talk about the card. TV94, Separatist Solidarity. While a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 performs a primary attack against a defender in its bullseye firing arc, if there are 2 or fewer attack dice, it may spend 1 calculate token to add 1 hit result. I'll also just quickly as well, the article explain what Solidarity means. You can only have 1 card with Solidarity of a certain upgrade type in your squad, which is pretty much what we predicted. But Solidarity is only relevant within a certain upgrade type, so this does leave the door open to having Solidarity on different upgrades. I'm not sure what that could be, but interesting design potential nonetheless. Indeed, these are Solidarity cards because they would be very powerful. We stack them together. I'll talk about that in a second. But TV94, yep, I love this. I was talking in the last video about FFG trying to find ways to make dedicated 2 red dice platforms viable. Adding hit results is a great way of doing that. Now, yes, I know. In the bullseye firing arc, that's not super easy, but again, it's all about formation flying. If you get guys lined up like this, with their bullseye firing arcs coming out straight in front of them, you create a zone in which not all those bullseye firing arcs are going to be hitting your opponent's ship, but 1 or 2 consistently will. And that's all you really need with effects like this, because you are adding a hit result. I don't really have to explain to you guys how powerful that is. We do not get access to this in 2nd edition. Indeed, in 1st edition, what things added results, like the TIE Advanced Targeting Computer, Fearlessness, the equivalent of these in 2nd edition just do not do that. You don't get to add more results anymore. And this is difficult to pull off, but again, rewards the Separatists for doing what they already want to be doing. There's a lot of support for this formation flying tactic. Previously, we had revealed Kraken, which obviously cannot go alongside TV94 because it's also another Solidarity card. But during the end phase, you may choose up to 3 friendly ships at 0, 1 to 3. If you do, each of those ships do not remove 1 calculate token. Also, it gives the platform a calculate action, which is very, very relevant on some Belbalub pilots. It's very good because that means that the Belbalub can have calculate tokens to provide for the Vulture droids. And you can see how this kind of effect alongside TV94, being able to retain calculate tokens to then use to mod your attacks could be a little bit too pushed. And I can understand what FFG are doing here. I'm hoping we see at least 2 more of these tactical relay cards in the pack. It's a very interesting, powerful, and exciting new design direction for the game. I really dig what these guys have done in the Separatists. And look, I know 2 red dice, 2 green dice, bad, bad, bad. A lot of people are talking about the new A-Wing because it has 2 red dice. It's bad. It's not playable. FFG realistically do need to find a way to make these factors playable. We can't just have a world where 2 red dice doesn't see play. I think that's just too problematic design-wise. I think we have to have things in the game which make 2 red dice viable and make 2 green dice viable. I think ultimately these new design directions are very, very important. And it does goes to show how important the transition into 2nd edition was, because introducing stuff like this into 1st edition would have just been so problematic. The format was already very complicated and very sort of upgrade heavy. I'm really glad that we got the reset so things can breathe. We can get things nice and separated out onto 7 separate factions. We can have effects slotted nicely into solid archetypes, very well-defined archetypes moving in different design directions. I'm so happy with the Separatist alliance moving forward. I'm really excited to see what the Republic does. Sort of dedicated generic Jedis. I'm sure we're going to have things like this that work with them, but we'll see those in future articles. I can't gush about this stuff enough. I just really like the design direction X-Wing's heading in. Looks like a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. There is a ton more stuff for Wave 3 that will be coming out. I'll make sure to cover it as best I can. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting the Patreon. I can't stress this point enough. The Patreon is really what's pushing this channel forward right now. You guys have been a huge support and I cannot thank you enough. I'll catch you in the next video.